Hey guys, welcome back to Surviving Hollywood. I'm Johnny Ray Diaz.
I am Aaron Arnold.
I'm Austin Arnold. And on today's ep, we had the great, the powerful director, Paul Hogan.
He was great. Very chill guy. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, because we're on both YouTube and iTunes, you see that we're wearing Halloween costumes. And that is because this is the day after Halloween. And we all went out last night. And then for today, we invited our guest, Paul, to wear his Halloween costume and do a fun talk about what he did on Halloween.
And I got to, how we met is I got to work with him. He directed every single episode of season 2 of TruTv's You Can Do Better. And we really hit it off on set. And we talk about how you generate jobs as a director, how you hustle in Hollywood.
The trials and tribulations, because when we're on a set and there's an actor or a certain department that isn't, maybe things aren't, they're not jiving with the rest of the set. We sit back, we relax. Somebody else is going to deal with that. Well, he's the guy.
Pressure.
He's the guy who's got to deal with that. So we ask him about that and just basically how he gets jobs in general.
I thought it was a really cool pod. Actually, one of my favorite guests so far. He was super chill,
Great conversation,
easygoing, had a lot of information, but also just kind of like a cool dude you want to hang out with, right?
Yeah, he was cool
for sure. Very chill.
It was also kind of cool that he talked about how to handle difficult actors on sets. Or even difficult crew. That happens sometimes.
Not naming any names.
Not going to say who it was.
Well, you'll see.
You have to listen to the podcast. And he also mentioned a new project he's working on.
And pitching.
Pitching. A new series. Pretty dark.
We ask him how you pitch.
Yes.
He tells us.
We get into it really deep.
Yeah, if you're a director out there or just somebody who wants to know what it's like being on set or getting jobs, you're going to like this episode. This is a good one.
Welcome to the Surviving Hollywood podcast.
I'm sick and tired of Harry. I'm sick and tired of having to eke my way through life.
Starring Johnny Ray Diaz.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You can't handle the truth!
Aaron Arnold.
Darkness is your father. I really adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Austin Arnold.
Goddamn people! Line.
But you had a radio gig in college?
I wouldn't call it a gig.
Well,
It was.
they gave you free airtime.
They gave us free airtime, and we had it was basically just trying to see what we could get away with on a thing. Just anything to do viewers. We would offer drugs, and yeah.
Would you follow through on that?
No,
Literally nobody was checking up on them.
nobody. But we also had I worked on a television show in college as well. So that actually got viewers and stuff like that. But
What school was this?
American University in
University?
American University.
Very patriotic.
Yeah.
In Washington D.C. Yeah, it was,
Okay.
it was in D.C. It was like, I guess, chartered by Congress or something at some point. Like it was like an official
Propaganda.
government school,
Right.
but then, yeah,
A lot of political science majors.
a lot, and apparently there's more now. Now I get all the alumni things, and it's like wonks. We're all wonks. I'm like, what the fuck is a wonk? You know, like it's like people who are really. It's like a new term for nerd, I guess. But like you are up. They're all poli-sci wonks, but I guess you could be a Hollywood wonk, but nobody would.
I
call
prefer
it that.
nerd.
Nerd, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Sounds like something like a racist you yell at some guy crossing the
Well,
street.
they have a
Hey, watch it, you wonk.
They have a problem with that too, because people were a couple years ago were hanging nooses around campus, which is weird in DC. Like I grew up around DC. You don't want to do that. It's you're outnumbered.
The least creative thing you can
Yeah, it was, and so they're trying to explain like we're this wonderful like liberal, and then this is happening, and everybody's like, yeah.
That's legit like the most racist thing you could do.
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was terrible, and they felt really bad, and they should. But yeah, it's
Fucking wonks.
Anyway,
Hey, and before we get on to that political tangent,
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Hey,
I just
happy
want to
Halloween,
address to our viewing audience on YouTube, we dressed up today.
Did we?
Yesterday was Halloween, and we thought it'd be a fun little game before we hear about what Paul did for his Halloween. He was a director. We'll get into all that in the episode, but what do you guys think Paul's costume is?
The guy from Stranger Things.
Oh, I gave it away. I should have given you all no, I'm not that. What were your other?
I've never watched that show, and I still got it.
You know what? You kind of do look like him a little bit. But
Yeah,
that wasn't my guess though.
What was your guess?
So with the jean jacket and the shirt, it feels very like
Miami Vice.
Pablo Escobar-ish, drug cartel guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Some kind
Yeah.
of Miami. You know what I mean?
I should do Escobar next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Did you have me as Stranger Things too, or?
I was gonna guess. No, I didn't. And I watched the show.
Yeah, and I watched the show too.
I was gonna guess some sort of Doug Funny cartoon based on your. It looks like a sketch.
This is
Doug Funny.
some version
Tom Selleck?
of the shirt that like yeah. Well, so that's I got like last night. So I learned, and this I guess is a good thing. I don't have the dad bod. So like I got people who are like, you're too thin. I would know who you were
That's
if
true.
you were fat, you know? Dad bod.
You're a director. You must have access to a fat suit.
Think, but that would assume I thought about this. It was it's Friday, Thursday, Monday. I was originally going to be Billy, like so I was going to shave the mustache down, buy a wig, and like do that, and
Like
then
a lifeguard outfit or something. I don't know.
yeah, like I was going to do the real dirtbag
Yeah.
80s look, like
Yeah.
you know, wife beater and all that, and really look like shit, and like and then my wife was going to be
The mom.
the mom.
That's perfect.
That'd been great.
But we have kids and we're both far too lazy and busy to even bother with that. Like we didn't even order. So I was like, but my kids were both Stranger Things. So I was like, okay, I've got to do something. And I've got the mustache. So I was like, all right, Monday, I was on Amazon. It was like literally the last shirt on Prime. And it was like order. I could see the countdown clock. Like I need,
was a
if you
deal.
want this by, no, just like literally, if you want to get this by Halloween,
You have to order it
you
like
have
within an hour.
3 minutes.
Right,
No, it
okay.
was like,
Oh,
I was
really?
like, and I don't like that pressure. So I was like, but I just did the one time I actually do the one
Purchase
button,
now.
just like, yeah. So then it showed up and they were like, it runs small. And
Perfect.
I love it.
perfect.
It fits perfect.
Small from Middle America.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Hey, that's our audience.
If it's good though. If it's good.
Did you take the kids trick or treating?
Yeah, so we went to Larchmont, which
Larchmont
is
Village?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, not the shopping district. Over in
Just the neighborhood.
the
around
neighborhood there, they have all these huge houses,
Good candy.
great candy.
Fun size.
Quality candies.
A couple got like my son got, and it really pissed my daughter off. Somebody gave him like a full size Starburst, like you
Score.
know,
The
so
whole
that's
thing,
good.
yeah.
But I don't know. So it's multiple blocks. Most people decorate their houses, and there's, I think by 7:30 there's thousands of people around there. I mean, it's people just come in from everywhere. You always see like weird. I think where comedians in LA start is like Franklin Village, and then when they are successful, they all move there. Because every year I see like Thomas Lennon and like Patton Oswalt, and they're just
really?
you know
Cool.
The first year I went, there was this guy in this costume, and it was amazing, and it was the demon dad from Teen Titans Go. If you watch the cartoon, you know it. Like it's the one Raven, I think, and her dad's this big demon, and he had this like really elaborate, huge headpiece.
Wait, is it the voice or is it the live action version?
Like this costume he had on.
the costume.
And I go
got
up
you.
and I'm like,
Okay.
oh hey, nice costume, I love it. And it turned out it was Patton Oswalt. I'm like, hey, you're cool, you know.
It's a funny block.
Yeah, no, it's
cool.
good. So, but it's a real chill atmosphere. It's terrible.
What
It's
kind of
awful.
candy-
Don't go there because now I'm saying
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah. What kind of candy does Patton Oswalt have?
I don't know which. I always see him walking around, so I don't know.
So he's not even handing out candy.
He's getting the
He
candy.
not be. I think a couple of the houses I've seen them go into, and I can't remember. They all kind of look nice and alike.
He's watching this going, come on, Paul, you're out
Yeah,
in here.
yeah. Next year, say hi.
So I'm just curious because I've never gone trick or treating in Hollywood. What is what's that process like? Because I know when I was a kid, the game was like if you see the box where it says please take one, you take the whole box. You know what I mean?
He has to educate his kids.
I know,
Well,
but is it like that over there, or is it like really?
It's clearly a thing in the neighborhood. So there was one house that had the bowl, and my kids and my daughter said this on the way home. She's like, "Oh, we were in line, and all these teens were in front of me." She sounds like a trucker. They were in front of me, and and they took like 10 pieces each.
Yeah.
And then when we got up there was no more. But we wanted to do that. I'm like, no, that's not the point. Like, you're not, we left it at our house one year when we went to go over here. We left the bowl with the candy and we came back.
And a camera.
Completely gone.
The bowl was gone. The bowl was gone. Like everything, all the candy bowl, everything. Like, I was like, I should have, it's what I would have done, but yeah.
Aaron and I used to, when we were a little older than your kids, I'm assuming, take rollerblades, go down our mile-long street in one costume, get the candy, drop it off, and take another costume and rollerblade down the street again.
I remember
cheaters.
It must have been about 5th or 6th grade. I was staying at my buddy Rajan's house. I just remember I was at Rajan's house, and it was like right outside DC, like where and it was, we were doing a sleepover. Must have been a Friday night or something. So he and I had that grand plan. We had 2 costumes, which we had to hide from our parents that we had 2 costumes, because like if they would have known. And we had, I remember clear as day, pillowcase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the pillowcases of candy.
Full of candy,
Yeah.
who knows?
Now, we guessed your costume. Aaron did. Could you guess our costumes?
Let's start with Austin, and we'll go down.
Well, that one's pretty obvious.
That's the movie that I don't remember the name of with Will Ferrell.
I'm Jackie Moon, baby.
Jackie Moon, thank you.
Semi-pro,
Yes,
semi-pro.
yes, semi-pro. Thank you.
What's Jackie Moon's hit song?
Love Me Sexy.
Yeah.
Love Me
I did
Sexy.
not remember that. That's good.
You're John Wick.
Yeah, that's right.
Juan Wick.
That's right. That was a good
One
one.
week. Parabolam.
Yes.
A lot of people had trouble with that one.
Really?
Dude, I had a lot of people were like, I even broke it down. So I went to my manager's Halloween party yesterday, and I explained to her, no, I'm John Wick. She's like, what's John Wick? And I'm like, I could see if they made 1 movie, but they made 3.
I thought you were in the industry.
And they're all pretty successful.
Yeah. It's like, all right.
You're weird Pulp Fiction. I don't know. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, you could.
You could see that. Some people said that.
All right, now for the hardest one.
I think it's easy.
Pumpkin pie.
Yes.
That's not hard.
Good job.
No, it was that or nothing. I was like,
Math guy.
Yeah. Nerd.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Wonk. Right? What is it?
Whoa, dude. Come on.
Whoa.
Well, I had
Wonk.
Hey,
in not
hey, you
understanding
jive
it,
turkey.
our Lyft driver last night, because you don't want to park over there, he picked us up and we're like, oh, you making it around. There's a lot of cars, a lot of people. And he goes, yeah. It's like, is there a concert going on or something? I'm like, are you what? And he was dead serious. And like, I don't think he's been here long, but still, like, I'm like, it's a gigantic citywide costume concert. Yeah.
You're like, buddy, I'll give you 5 stars, but I'm not giving you good conversation.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Is today a holiday? What's going on? Yeah.
Now, let's jump in, guys, because this is called Surviving
It was
Hollywood.
fun. It was fun, though.
Not surviving Halloween, but
Surviving Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I met Paul working on TruTv's You Can Do Better. But
we just had Mike on.
we just had Mike on.
Yeah.
It was also
Yeah.
but the majority of our audience is up and coming writers, directors, actors, filmmakers. So could you just kind of share how you got your start in directing?
Yeah, a very roundabout way. So when I moved out here, from the Washington D.C.
Okay,
area.
so that's where you're from, okay.
Yeah. So I grew up there, went to college there. While I was in college, my friends and I had done a comedy talk show in college, and this was, I'm dating myself, but like this was really, I mean, the internet existed. This was a few years before YouTube, and we kill ourselves that it did not exist because we had people literally videotaping our show and sending it to their friends at other schools.
The first viral video.
Yeah. but the guy who hosted it ended up selling it to Comedy Central. So we did a season on Comedy Central, and that was enough to get me out here. And so
Who was the guy?
His name's Chris Wilde.
Nice.
He's comedian, actor.
I feel I heard the name.
I don't recognize the name.
Yeah.
So it was like it was a fun show, and we learned a lot of important lessons about working with networks and not.
Like what?
What was the premise of the show?
It was a talk show.
That's all it was. Okay. Talking to comedians?
Yeah,
Okay.
talking to whoever. We had, so in school, we had no guests. We had guests, but they were the school president or the physics teacher or the random basketball player, whoever, and we would do it live weekly program in college. And we would do sketches and taped segments and all that
So like
stuff.
a variety show, sort of.
Yeah,
A
like
little bit?
I mean, like half-hour Letterman type show.
Okay, cool.
With tape bits.
Was Chris Wilde on the stand-up show that was on like NBC? So so you want to be a stand-up?
I don't think so.
Dude, just look up his pic. I'm sure.
You'll recognize him. He's in a million commercials. He's also the voice of Bob on Bob's Furniture. So whenever I watch the news in the morning, I I hear him. I go, "Hi." And my kids go, "That's Chris."
I thought you were about to say Bob's Burgers. So.
No, that'd be
Hey,
I'm sure he
did
take
well.
that too. But so we did this. So then when we came out here, we learned, and it was one of those things where we were fresh out of college, and Comedy Central essentially said to Chris and his brother, who's a producer too, and said, it was basically like, we love this show you guys are doing. It's amazing. We want you to be you. Now don't be you. And we responded by going, fuck you, and it was, and we learned not to, like I learned,
I mean, you directly told them we're not going to do that.
they didn't say it in so many words, but all the things that we wanted to do that were like offensive, edgy,
they didn't want to do that.
They didn't want to do that. And this was before Chappelle's show.
Which is
Very
weird.
edgy.
That's weird because
Well, now they, like, Chappelle's show cracked it open, but at the time,
Right.
South Park was their one
edgy
edgy show, and they had a very sort of nice edginess, like in terms of comedians, but they were still doing things where it was like half-hour long TV shows that were just clips of stand-up comics,
Comedy blend.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't remember. Short attention span theater. I think that was off
Yeah.
by then. But like, so they hadn't stretched their legs yet, and we were not Dave Chappelle either. We weren't as good, talented, but also
Hey,
like he had that cachet. I'll take it. But like. But we learned, and so we would say, "Oh, let's do this," and they'd say no, and then we would hand them a script that was worse for a bit, And so we did one season, but it got me out here, and then from that I worked just as a PA. Like I do like a production
what
coordinator.
kind of stuff?
I was all terrible. Basic cable, talk shows, game shows.
Okay.
It was like the heyday of Game Show Network and game shows. So they were just doing, if it
Exploding.
wasn't, I worked on a
Whammy.
I think I did a day on that, and I was like, all right, that's cool, But I mean, there were a million pilots that they were doing, and I remember I did one pilot that like. It was like a show where there was a camera in the middle, and it just spun around to different people asking them questions. And you do this, and then
that 70s show.
That's what I was thinking.
I was like that, but like it was on this turntable, and it would ask, and you'd get kicked out, and then people would move in or rung and all this. And
You are the weakest link.
It was kind of like, but
Goodbye.
like I remember being in France, and I was like in the hotel room switching channels, and then
There it
like
was.
they must have sold it to foreign markets or whatever, and like
Wow.
and I was like, oh, I remember doing
That must
but-
have felt good.
no, because I didn't get to work on it. So I did that, but then I do a lot of.
Branded content. Commercial.
Now I do. So what I did was I got out of that. I was doing motion graphics for some of the TV shows, graphics coordinator and things like that on talk shows. And then the weird thing is I moved out. Like I moved away from LA. My wife at the time, girlfriend, got a job in Seattle, so we moved up there, and I just started freelancing. And I started freelancing, working with ad agencies, doing direct to client stuff for little motion videos. I started doing these viral fake movie trailers, which is the Garrison Dean stuff.
Yes.
And that's my nom de web.
I saw those. Those look good, but you just did those on your own?
Some of them.
Nice.
I made all
very
of them.
professional.
I made all of them myself. Some of them were paid for.
Nice. Very professional.
Thank
They
you.
look.
Thank you.
They look good.
Thank you. So I love doing those, but that got me enough sort of notoriety, and then I began working with. I went out with a good friend of mine. We moved to Kansas City, and then I was working for an ad agency there and helping them set up we want to make commercials in house. And so you guys know how to do this. We want to do this. We create commercials, content, all that stuff. And this was about 10 years ago.
Started like their own production, basically.
Exactly.
In-house.
And then that moved me back to Los Angeles, and then they promptly closed us down. But by that point, I'd done enough broadcast spots and things like that I began to get commercial work, content, and TV, like with You Can Do Better.
And how do you get that? Do you have to have
It's hell. The problem is I've done all this myself. So I don't have an agent.
So no agent.
I don't have
all word of mouth, pretty much.
All word of mouth,
Yeah.
which
a lot of
goes-
jobs in Hollywood are like that, though, right?
they
I
are,
know
but
a
it's
guy.
like it is, and it's nice, but at the same time, it would sure be nice to have somebody. So I've toyed with it a couple of times, getting some sort of agent or manager, something just so I don't have to do the lift. And I think I'm about to do that and to look into that. But I've had enough people who also said, well, you're getting enough work on your own. Why give them the money? I'm like, well, because I spend every fucking waking night pulling my
Trying to
hair
get
out,
more.
wondering where the next work's coming from. So, and so that's the thing is, but also just knowing enough producers and people but I still do a whole lot of things. I'll do motion graphics pieces. Like that's right now just finished up a couple things like that. That's just me in my room messing around with After Effects and creating things and animations and all that stuff. So, so that's the sort of roundabout. I don't know if I would have stayed, what would have happened, because I was spending my time on talk shows, like waking up at 5 a.m. and opening up as a production coordinator, opening up a stage and calling camera guys. And I was like, I don't want to be doing this. It's fun. It's so much fun. All jobs I've had in this town are fun.
Right.
But I was like, I don't want to be doing this specific thing when I'm 40, 50, because I had bosses who I liked a lot, but I was like, I don't want to be them. There was no creativity in it.
Did you always know you wanted to be a director, or did it kind of fall into it?
No, I did. I knew I always wanted to be in this realm.
Some capacity.
I took acting classes as a kid and would do plays and stuff like that. And
But you were just telling the other actors what to do.
a little bit, yeah. No, but I mean, I would always like, I didn't have, you always hear about like Spielberg with his Super 8 or whatever. But I tried that a couple times, but I had no way of editing. I didn't know that at the time. I was like, okay, I've put a video camera on my toys. Now
how do I?
Who's going to watch this?
Looks like this one's a oneer.
Yeah. Well, and I began to learn to edit in camera. So once I got to college, and I was like,
This is how you do
I
it.
can cut it together. That's fun.
I think about times like that, and I'm like, man, this shit must have been so hard to just because nowadays you can throw on my computer, boom, boom, done. Or my phone, I can edit something almost.
There's an app for that.
It's crazy, back in the day, how you had to just was it linear editing?
It was linear editing.
Yeah.
I learned on a AB roll VHS, and then also a little bit. I did some film on the Steenbeck, which. Even as I was doing it, I was like, I know this is not this is about to die. But it was cool. Cool doing that. But I think the thing is, if I ever became a teacher or professor or something like that, if I ever had to teach people, I would force them to learn on linear machines.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to,
Because they have to suffer just like you do.
No, it's not even suffering. It forces you to think about what you're filming. I know a lot. I'll do shows when we did You Can Do Better. We did. I think it was something like 70 days in a row, and I think we were doing
70.
I think is what it
I remember
was.
you telling me something like that.
Yeah, it
Because
was-
I came back for one episode 2 weeks later, and I was like, what's your schedule like? And that's what you told me.
Yeah, it was just go. I think we had a couple weekends off. I think I don't think they thought we were going to be able to keep up with it, and the pre-pro, the writers and all that stuff. I think we got ahead of them, and I didn't think they thought that was going to happen. So we stopped down for a week in there, which pissed the crew off. But the only way that we were able to do that, and this is I find on all the things I tried. Never. I don't think we ever. I think we had one day on those entire thing where we had overtime. 1 or 2 days.
So you guys are really efficient.
I try to be, and that comes from
the linear
a
editing.
background of linear editing.
Yeah.
That comes from because I know I'll have crews, I'll have ADs, I'll have even editors come to me and they'll say, thank you.
Yeah,
like
right.
you know
what to shoot,
what
'cause
you're
we're gonna-
shooting. And they'll
right.
say, oh, but this, and I was like, I don't need that. I don't need that. And if I did need it, oops, we'll figure out a solution. But yeah, it comes from linear editing. And I know too many younger directors and people who just get on set and shoot. And yeah, you can cut something from it, but like you're wasting everybody's time, and you just don't need that. So if you learn, I know I need this shot to this shot to that shot to that, and it'll change in the process. It'll change as you're going in the edit. But like,
So making a shot list, most important.
shot list is most important. Knowing why you're doing what you're doing is most important. And having the sort of the confidence to know what you don't need. I remember the DP John, who was on You Can Do Better. He was talking about, and I work with him a bunch, but we always talk about. Now I can't remember his name. Who did Sicario? What's the
Of what?
Of what?
Sicario and
The DP of Sicario?
No, the director Villeneuve, right?
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve.
So he was talking. He apparently on Sicario there was a shot where he had like them. I think it was the one where they're like walking over they're walking into the sunset and all that. And I think and so somebody's like he said to his AD or somebody like don't let me get coverage on this because I want to make sure I have to use this shot. And so there's a certain confidence that I find in like trusting that you are going to do what you do and that you may make a mistake, but again, you still have that entire post process to find those solutions and then find those other ways of doing it. But yeah.
And when you originally got the TruTv show, did you have to what was that process for that one specifically?
So for that one,
Because you were the whole season.
No,
Right.
Were you, there was 3 directors.
No,
There-
it
you
was
were
me.
the-
That was me for that season. For the first season, they had I came on the second season or season 1B or whatever. But yeah, no, that was that was all me for those. I don't even know how many episodes it was. I think it was. But so that was.
Dude, you got to update your IMDb.
It's terrible. I know. People really look at that, don't they? Yeah. I gotta get on that. Yeah, it's terrible.
I was like, oh, he did Crocodile Dundee? That's cool.
I'll take it. My producer I had worked with on something I filmed for Fusion, which I don't even know if that's still around. I think they died.
I think so.
But it was a guy, and he's a pretty good friend of mine, this Egyptian comic named Bassem Youssef. And we were shooting, he was doing sort of a docu-series about America. Like he came here and it was him going around and it was pretty entertaining. It's got to be online still, even if Fusion isn't. So, but I'd shot a sketch with him and then in studio segments with him. And the producer on that, she and I got talking about car chases. Like we love watching car chases. I don't like sports.
The OJ chase. Is
Los
the only one.
Angeles daily car
You
chases
like cops.
is my sports.
Yeah.
Like that is like real stakes.
There's a whole channel dedicated to that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I was gonna say there's like an actual thing where it's just car chases.
I've got the
I'm
NBC, I got all the news apps only because it's like
What are you hoping to see when you watch those? Are you hoping like, oh my god, I want to see the crash, or I want to see him get caught?
A guy doing a crazy thing that you never think he'd do.
that you want that insanity. Like, and you
Do you
don't
ever want the guy to get away?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I mean
Screw the man.
Yeah, like when they get away, like you really are like, like the best is like you root the motorcyclists who you root for because they're the ones who may get away. I saw one motorcyclist. He went to the desert and it was night and he lights off and just lost them.
Whoa.
That's cool.
Because you can just go fast and
Very,
you
very-
learn that
very
like
Batman.
You learn that helicopters are not as fast as you think they are because the
Yeah.
people in the news copters are like we can't go any. I'm like fucking helicopter. How's the like 85 Celica beating you? You know.
Push the throttle more.
Yeah. But so she and I were talking about car chases, and then she was looking for director. She got brought on as a showrunner for that season, and then literally a car chase came on, and she was like, Paul, you know, and like, and she called me and had them call me, and I met with the production and the host and all that stuff.
And submit your stuff. Did you have to do that, or?
They looked at it. I sent them my page and my reel and all that stuff. I mean, I find that's how so much of this works. But again, it's, you know, it's so much who like you said, like so much who you know, and developing relationships where knowing that you're easy to work with, you know, and
you're cool, right?
Yeah,
you don't want to be a pain in the ass, right?
No. I don't like yelling.
Yeah.
I don't yell on set. I hate that. You do that once to prove a point, and then you put the
I remember.
Coffee. This
Were
is
you
my
there
coffee?
that day?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, I mean, didn't happen. No, it actually did happen. It was unfortunate incident.
Well,
but
what happened?
There's a lighting guy, and Christian Bale was on set.
There was a. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. There was a specific department, head of a specific department, who was being a bit diva-ish, and
It's got to be the gaffer.
Costumes.
Always the
fighting,
gaffer.
and it was, and which I can take if you're good. But they were also not competent. And so I was getting harassed, and asking for simple things was met with both aggression and
Attitude.
and attitude. Thank you. And I was like, it was a nightmare day on top of it. And I just
lost it.
I just,
Yeah.
but I lost it in a, like, I was like,
Professional.
well, and
sort
again,
of.
in this day and age, you can't just go full Christian Bale. Like, and so I was like, I need you, because you're a neutral party. I need you. You're the boss. Like, and like, I was like, let's go talk about this. And then I was like, here's what we need, and all this stuff. And then the person kept like haranguing me, and I was like, okay. And then I let him have it. But it was like, I had enough people there to
they
know
got
that
it.
I didn't pull this person in a room and just threaten them. Cause like I
Right.
did, you have to be super careful, which I really, really learned on, I did a series for Playboy, which was like,
Yelling at the models, huh?
no, again, like that was like, I was like, okay, I have to be extra, triple, quadruple careful in this day and age and environment, that like there's always somebody around me who can make sure that everything's on the level, and like both for my own sake and for the sake of the people I'm working with, because it was weirder than I thought it was going to be.
You're positioning these girls, right? And like, right? Well, that's the weird part.
it was
Directing, positioning.
It was. Yeah, it was strange. You think like,
You're like,
this is gonna be awesome, and
Awkward.
It was,
You made
it was
it.
really weird.
You're like, hey, could you get sex here for me?
Yeah,
Oh, for me.
yeah. It was because you're asking people to do that,
Yeah.
but
But I guess they're probably comfortable with it, right?
That's how they make
They're probably
money.
like really chill about it. I feel like, because they're otherwise.
they are. But I'm so like
Nice.
nice
Yeah.
They're like, Paul, you don't have to ask. I'll just do
Well,
it.
I had one person who towards the end of the shoot, I was like, oh, well, can you do like, I need you to like take your, bottoms off. And because we needed real actors. So it
God,
was like,
me
I know,
too.
right?
How dare you?
And she was like, she said, well, I was like, are you comfortable with it? And she's like, I think so. I said, that's not a yes, so don't worry about it. We'll find, I was like, I can't, like that.
That's not a yes. You're fired.
Yeah,
but don't worry about
and then
it.
you can't do that, obviously. but yeah, so it was, but it was very weird.
So these are actual actors, not.
Well, it was a series where I had a talk with them right when they began, and I was with a producer, and we pitched. They'd had all these ideas, and we'd pitched like how we would tackle like some of them. One was like a docu-series. One was this was basically like, if you've ever seen Red Shoes Diary or whatever, like that, like it's like Twilight Zone, but with doing it, so each was like a standalone little story.
Sounds
and,
pretty good.
and I said, I was like, are you guys looking for like, are we talking
Yeah.
like 80% girl spraying car with a hose and like a little bit of filler, or is it the reverse? And they're like, it's the reverse. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
but if you want that, I'm going to need people who can actually kind of act like, so we needed to find people who could act and also be comfortable in these
Situations.
situations,
Yeah.
which meant a lot of like, who who among my friends can I do, like, you know, like I'm like, so if anybody out there wanted to do that and didn't get a call, I'm sorry. It was me being nervous about it.
I'm just curious, and on this specific topic itself, was your wife comfortable with all that?
Yeah, she's from Holland. She doesn't care.
Okay. Is she in the industry?
No.
Okay.
Thank God. So if you want to survive Hollywood,
Marry somebody.
marry somebody with a day job. It helps. And it's funny. I know a lot of people who are in that scenario. It's just
Which scenario?
having like
A significant other?
a significant other who does not have to disappear for weeks at a time, either within the city or outside of the city or whatever. It's and just not have to worry about, like, somebody will be making money this month. you know?
Yeah.
Somebody will keep us secure with a retirement fund and all.
Do you feel that, and I don't, you could have not, let me just get to the question. Do you feel that TruTv gave You Can Do Better a shot, or do you feel like a shot as well as Adam Ruins Everything, or do you feel it was always,
It was in the same vein as Adam Ruins Everything, right?
Giving all the PR to that show, which is a great show. This one was slightly similar.
I feel they could have handled it a little better. It's if you're listening, Matthew, like
The host?
the host, who's a very good friend of mine now, like he did a good job. He's fantastic and he's a genius. He's a really smart guy. But they wanted him to be Adam. So we kept running into
Like snarky or what? What is Adam?
I think a little bit snarky. There's a sort of shot out of a cannon thing that Adam has.
This energy sort of.
Yeah. And I remember where I really noticed it was they kept coming to us. We get these notes like, do what Adam does, And I was like, okay. I'm like, so when I watch that, what I'm always impressed with whenever I see those things, whether it was back on College Humor, or even on TruTv, is like they have these really wonderful, elaborate, like, long takes where he dips in and out, and it's like, let me show you how, like, prison works, and here we are, and we come in and we go in and walk through the room, and like all these setups come up and leave, and it's like, and so for the first couple episodes we're doing that. I was filming these like the night before. I'm like, okay, here's the place, and like let's get this like really long thing, and they wrote these really long scripts for me. They needed like 2-minute segments, and they'd hand us 7-minute scripts, and I'm like,
Jeez.
I don't want to be the one to say this, but so then when we get, and they'd say, all right, now let's just edit it and chop it up. So I was like, but like, we need it to be like Adam. I'm like, but his show is not edited crazy fast. You just think it is because he's got this kind of energy. So I think they were trying to match the energy and the thing of Adam Ruins Everything, even though the show, while similar in dealing with topics and informing people and educating people, it was a different show. And I also think the other thing that kind of, among the people that I got to watch it, the ones who really loved it were all over 50. Like some of the people my wife works with, some of my family and stuff, it was must-see TV for them once, and you do things and they're like, yeah. And I think it was because it was tackling issues that it was educating people about things and trying to preach to the choir, but was actually preaching to the other church that needed to hear it. So it was tackling issues about gender, about marijuana, and like all these things that, like,
we saw.
Yeah, I mean, it was all like issues of like, so it was all that, and I think anybody who was and Adam Ruins Everything. God bless him. Their research staff is incredible. Like, I watch that, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it's very informative.
It's very informative, and I think the topics that they were handing us were not as, they weren't the same, and they
First kiss.
As if there's one way to do a threesome,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but I think the audience, like, of millennials that they were going for, the younger audience, was like, yeah, we already smoke weed and we're all having threesomes, and and like, we don't hate gay people, and like, and it's like, yeah, okay, thanks, good, nice work. So I think they were so gunning for an audience, but again, you can't go to them and be like, you should really aim for that 60+ crowd. You know, no network wants to hear that.
Well, it's
except
just
for
weird
CBS.
that they're like, let's duplicate a show we already, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like it's just,
and that, so the show was based on Matthew's book, which was called You Suck at Drinking. So originally they'd pitched it as
The host's
the host book. Yeah. And it was a, like, here's how to
drink
go to
properly?
drink properly. Go, like, here's what to look for in these bars. Here's how to,
What
what
cocktails.
cocktails to order
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I think maybe rightfully so, they felt that that was too thin of a topic. Although there's plenty of shows about like specific food. So I think that with the right production, you could have done it. But so they're like, okay, but that's a good idea. It's like you suck at blank. Now, like, and this is a good lesson to learn. Like, you suck at everything, you know. Here, and then they're like, well, that's kind of a harsh title for a TV show. How about you could do better at that, you know? And it's like, and so and that's how those things sort of flip flop and get to somewhere else. And I think, and the first season again, what I watched of that, like, I think they tackled good topics. It just like, it wasn't Adam Ruins Everything, and I think they just needed to let it not be the same thing. And you know, and
I liked them both, and I also liked the dynamic between Matthew and Abby.
Yeah.
Was she in both seasons? She was in.
she was.
Okay,
I think
cool.
there's a couple episodes in the first season she got really sick or something like that. But like again, I wasn't on the first season, but what Matthew really, what I heard was he really liked her energy. Like she was
Great
a
energy.
very good foil for him. She's amazing on camera. She's like such a, she needs to have like a travel show or so. She's very engaging in a way that a lot of talent now is too much like Instagram, like influencers, like I gotta be going all the time, like you know.
Yeah.
And she has that like old school grounded
yeah.
professional, like she'd get there, do it, and real, you know. But that glossy real, you know, that like it's real, but better than me, you know. Like she has that, and Matthew is a great flip to her because they're just, you know, different backgrounds, different interests, and you know.
I liked when you would just let it run, like they would be on, the end of a segment, and then you just have improv for 5 minutes, and they played off each other really well.
And it killed me that those never translated well to the.
They got cut?
They would get in there, but the show just didn't allow for, you know, in those 5 minutes, there might be like a minute in there where they really hit on something wonderful and just a back and forth, like you know, like this. But like the show, it was like, I like tattoos. Oh, I like tattoos too. I have a crazy tattoo. You have a crazy, and it was like, and they needed to keep that energy up. So yeah, and there were times where I was like, man, I could just watch these two just talk for a while, you know, and so. I'll call him, tell him to have a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you liked it so much, then you did the Fringe Festival.
So
did he pull you in, or did
he
Matt?
pulled me in?
Nice.
Yeah, so Matthew wrote the
What is the Fringe Festival?
Shorts?
plays.
Yep.
Yeah,
short plays.
it's a plays. So it's all
1X.
No,
Or no?
there's full on
nice.
full on plays. I mean, ours was I think ours was like 100 or an hour 15 or so.
Wow,
you know, I mean,
nice.
so it was so Matthew had written this, and I remember we were having lunch one day and he told me the idea for this. I was like, oh, you got to like do that. It's a cool idea. And then he did, and he was like, I need you to direct it because I need your brain, and also I need some video stuff in it. And so it was called Life Plan, and it was essentially a sales pitch for. It takes place in the future, 2068, and so the world is in a soft dystopia, like not full Mad Max, but pretty shitty. And it's this sales pitch that travels around and goes to places and offers people their dream life. Whatever your dream life is, it offers it to you for a set period of time, whatever you can essentially afford. And then spoiler, at the end of it, you take place in a ritual suicide and kill yourself. You know, so like you have
The
really,
audience?
Very warm and
yeah. I mean, so
inviting.
that was the thing, was inviting people to say like, what what is important to you? How living your life, like is it better to have a really long life?
That's
or
shitty.
A really good
Or-
life, you know, and that's what
Yeah.
this dealt with. So
What's the answer?
I don't know.
The ritual suicide, I think.
Yeah, that sounds.
we
that sounds
had
pretty appealing.
people would discuss it afterwards. We'd pop out and and talk with people afterwards, and it got people, to his credit, it really got people thinking about those things, because there are people, I would do this, I would totally do this, and people are like, what? No, you'd be dead in 4 years, 3 years, and so. Yeah, but it really got people thinking. So he brought me into that, and we shot some videos that played behind them, and it turned out, I was really happy with how it turned out. And I told him I just finished a draft. I want to taking the universe he created and turning it into a series. So
Dope.
I just
Yeah, that
finished,
sounds
just
like
finished
a
a
cool
pilot,
concept.
like a first draft for a pilot. And I just before I got here, I looked at my phone and he read it and he was like, "This is great." So that feels good. So
Nice.
yeah.
And now, do you have a little in at TruTv? Not that maybe, I don't know if it's right for TruTV, but would you have a little in now that you know some of those people?
No.
You're not Adam.
No, I'm not. And it's like it's the trouble sometimes, and I'm learning is you get behind layers of. You get behind these firewalls. So I had my producers who were working with the production company, and then they were going up to TruTv. So while I did talk with some of the people from TruTv, I was very insulated from them. I mean, they were delivering notes to the producers who were sort of like, you do not want to deal with this. Like, we'll take care of this. Just you're too busy. We're shooting too much to do that. So I met with them a couple of times, but I don't have anybody on speed dial over there.
But you know the producers. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah. So, and I think Matthew might reach out to them, but I've got other people. I'm also in the late stages of pitch for hopefully going into development for a series, maybe scripted and unscripted, for a series based on this serial killer I knew as a kid. So yeah,
You knew as a kid?
I knew as a kid. Yeah.
Was it you?
No, no, I'm not that productive. Did
the people in town know about him?
they
or-
did eventually.
So this was in Washington.
Yeah, it was a guy
Okay.
who went to my church. He lived in the parking lot
random.
of my church.
He lived in the parking lot.
Yeah, he was a homeless guy, and he ended up
That was
Are
Jesus.
we really surprised?
and
Society did
Jesus
that to
actually
him.
plays into this. And so he
He is Jesus.
He would be around doing odd jobs and come to church sometimes, and he lived in this little pickup truck and that he had in the parking lot. And I remember, and I was like 12, and I was in the youth group, so I was always there, and my mom's a minister, so I was always at church. And so I remember painting the parish hall one day, and I partnered up with him because I could handle him. He was odd, to say the least. And I remember talking with him, and he was talking about I like going to bars, but I don't drink. I just
Red flag.
go and I'm with my friends there, and then the bartender gives me a glass of milk, and I was like, dude, that's really fucking weird. But I liked rollerblading. Be that as it may, he also did. He was a rollerblade courier. So we're standing there, and he's like, "Oh, I just got a new pair of rollerblades.
Want to come over and check him out?
Want to come down to my truck?"
And your mom let that happen?
Well, I remember looking down at the parking lot, and I saw his truck, and it had his pickup truck with the
Cover?
cap on the back,
a camper?
and it was backed up
blacked
to
out
the
windows.
yeah, and it was backed up to this little between the parking lot and the road, this little wooded area,
Yeah.
maybe 20 yards, not far, but enough. And I remember looking down, and I was like, "No, I'm good."
So you weren't afraid to tell this guy no?
I was politely said
Yeah.
no.
Well, that's cool. You recognize it as such a young age, because a lot of especially back then, you probably been like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I did, and so then
Other people weren't as lucky.
no, so then he ended up killing the daughter of a woman from our church. So
Is this
I like
a
how
comedy?
I like how we
it's
laugh
not a
about
comedy.
that.
No, it was
That's all you can
really
do.
really sad.
I
and
mean, what you're making.
no,
Okay.
no, it's deadly serious. And so then he my production partners, this is the NDA, but like basically, long story short, he ended up going to prison, getting on the hook for another murder of a 6-year-old girl in the early 80s.
Wow.
And then he ends up having a cellmate that he believes is Jesus, and then just starts confessing all this stuff.
So how many people did he kill?
No.
Or that they know?
He claims at least 13, but based on what I've got, like I got a bunch of his like artwork and stuff and diary at my house, and it's like it's a lot. It could be 5 and it's creepy. It could be dozens. I mean, it really like, and that's part of what we want to look into is
crazy.
How much of this is true. How much is this,
Mindhunter.
Yeah. So,
But you have the rights to his story?
we have the book. There was a book written about it, which came out like a couple weeks after 9/11. So it kind of.
Good God, how many tragedies can we have?
I'm bringing them all in. You thought this was a lighthearted Halloween show, didn't you?
Podcast got really dark.
No, but and so we've got the rights to that, and then rights to another person involved in the story. So yeah.
Are you allowed to say his name or?
I don't want to say his name.
No worries. That's all right. It's okay. That's why I asked. That's why
I
asked.
would, but like
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Sounds interesting.
What is the process to pitch a show?
It's hell. It's
Tell me about it.
It's hell. It's not. We've been so Kathy, who was the producer on You Can Do Better. She and I we were having lunch, just hanging out, And I mentioned, she was like, "Oh, I'd love to do something in the true crime realm." I'm like, "Oh, I knew a serial killer." She's like, "I'm sorry, what?" And so that was 2 years ago. And a little bit of it is that we have discovered more of the story in these couple of years. But so I think at least since the beginning of last year, beginning of was it 2019, we've been doing pitch reels and all that stuff, had meetings, and there's a couple companies that are really interested, and they're like, "Oh, we need to do X, Y, and Z." So, but I mean, it's this.
But do you cold call, or does the producer cold call, or how do you?
She has an agent, so we've met with a couple people. I have connections that it's that
People you know.
And people who trust you and people who trust the work you do. And
so when you're having these meetings, what are you presenting as a pitch? Like, is it just like?
Well, we haven't sold it yet, so I don't want to say if this works or not.
Okay. But well, I guess what's the typical route? Like,
but people seem interested in it. I mean, I have done. I have a unscripted sort of sizzle reel that tells the story of it, that lays it out
visually. Then like
visually with
reel.
interviews,
News clipping.
Interview, news clipping, sort of B-roll that I can find cobbled together. It's very much in the trailer realm. I pull from that thing. The first one I did of those, one of the people we're meeting with they were like, it's too slick. Like, this feels like a commercial for the television show.
And you're like, you're welcome.
I was like, exactly. I was, but they were like, no, we need a little bit more information. So I just delivered a sort of third version of that, but I have that. I have written
like the pilot
episode, which I haven't actually handed over to anybody just yet, but I have a sort of a show Bible of like how I want the scripted series to go, and then we just are working on the unscripted pitch deck that's several pages. It's
the show Bible's pretty big, right?
What's that?
The show Bible is usually pretty long.
I think it's what I have is about 7 or 8 pages.
Okay.
And I've tried to bring some visuals into it. And the biggest thing, and I think I get this from the advertising world, is preempting questions. You just know people are going to ask questions, and I thought I was good at that, and now I'm better at it, because there's sort of, it's very easy for you, because you wrote it, because you have been living with it, to know it all in your head.
Right.
And you just have to assume you're talking to a 2-year-old. And I don't mean that sort of pejoratively, like, okay, these guys are idiots and they're like children. But I mean, you literally have to explain everything because, and again, from the ad world, whenever we would pitch work to a client, they don't know anything. And they're not creative people. At least people in this industry are somewhat creative, you know. But like when you're pitching to like somebody who makes, you know, chicken wings, like and ad people get very frustrated by that. I'm like, why? It's like you don't know how to fucking make chicken wings. They don't know how to make commercials. Like, so you're in the meet in the middle. Like, and so, but it's really like when I put these decks together and the sizzle is like, what do people need to know? Or like in terms of
you have to be spoon fed almost.
Tone, in terms of who these characters are, and really go through it with just a fine tooth comb of like, and then you do it and you get in a meeting and they ask some question. You're like,
is it like,
think about that.
Okay, can we make the serial killer more likable?
Yeah, I mean, you get like, I was talking with a couple of writers about this, and they were like, oh, what if this guy then ended up doing like solving other crimes? And I was like, but that didn't happen. But then I'm like, but if somebody wants to pay me to do that, sure.
Yeah.
Fuck, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, so it's,
do you find that it happens a lot where it's like, you're like, okay, I mean, we really like the idea, but what if we do this? Are you kind of willing to bend and be like, all right, fine. If it's going to get made, I'll do it.
Yeah, obviously.
That's the big question, you know. I mean,
Right.
I think it's,
but if it alters the story like dramatically, though. You know
Paul's like, actually, I'm remembering it. Yeah, I think that did happen.
yeah, you're right.
I mean,
It was based on my life.
I think it's not so much that something changes, but what happens. What are they going to do to it? That are you when they do what they want to do to it? Are you going to be happy with yourself? You know, it's not, change is not the problem. Like, and I have to, being a director, the biggest thing is knowing that I don't know everything and that I have to work with actors who have ideas. I have to work with the DP who's going to have ideas. And I know directors who are, this is how we do it. This is my one way. And I imagine that their lives are very difficult. So part of it is knowing that other people are going to have ideas that differ from yours. And so I think even at this part of the creative process, you have to, and instinctively, because when I hear a new idea, I've had to, like, I'll get that email on a Friday night from somebody that's like the notes. And I'm like, my immediate reaction is, dear so-and-so, go fuck you. You know, like, but then I'm like, okay, now take a breath, think about it. And then like, let it slide. Really think about what they want to do. Think about how you can do what they have asked. Because sometimes people are asking for something. You also, like, I've learned that a lot of people ask for things, and as a creative, your opinion is, your mindset is like what they're asking for is gospel. And then you're like, very hesitantly, you're like, I really think that's a bad idea. And then people are like, oh, okay, you know, cool. You know, and then like, so like you can push back too, you know, and like, and again, it's about compromise. And if you really feel strongly about something and you push back and that friction begins, take that as a sign. I mean, that's like first date stuff where, like, you know, you're like, oh, you're not going to tip the waiter? Like, no, I don't believe in that. You're like, oh, okay. You know, like, yeah, maybe we should, this should be the
It'll
last
get better.
time. Yeah.
It'll get better,
Yeah.
right?
After tomorrow morning, we're not seeing each other. No, but yeah. No, it's, but yeah, it's compromise and all that stuff. That's all of this, you know, and you have to listen to other people.
Have you ever had any really difficult actors on set? And how do you handle that?
Besides Austin.
Yeah.
No,
That's obvious.
You were great. You were fine.
That's not what Austin said.
Well,
just kidding.
Yeah, no. I loved it.
Austin said he was difficult.
Were you difficult?
No, we're just kidding.
You weren't difficult.
Guys,
No.
bit's over.
No, he was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Once he leaves, I'll tell you all that.
Cool.
What?
No, it was. I haven't had many. You can smell them from a mile away, and like that's part of it is like saying like, okay, like know who you can lean into and trust that they're just gonna go for it and stuff. But like, so I've had others. Again, I can think of one specific example on You Can Do Better where there was an actor who refused to take a gulp of water. Like, and it was colored water. Like they put a little bit of food coloring in it or something like that to make it look like vinegar.
That was the problem.
That was the
The
problem.
artificial coloring.
Yeah. And I was
see.
like, and it was the end of the day. It was the end of the week. It was cold. It like the
We're
crew
trying to
was,
go home.
It was that like
Yeah.
thing, and so it was. But I so rarely have had any actor who.
Well, what about
like,
actors who are just like underprepared, like who just they get to set and maybe you find that like, oh man,
Actually, now you're making me remember. Yeah,
He's like Austin. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that now.
there it is.
no, that is difficult. And there's a lot of people in this town who are good at some things, or handsome, or fit the role, and not good at other things like acting or remembering words. And so, but it's again, it's problem solving. You have to look at that like you would look at like, oh, I have to shoot an exterior today, and all of a sudden it's really windy or the rain is blowing. Like it's all problem solving. So you have to say, okay, well, how do I deal with this person who's a complete moron and doesn't know their lines and is not a professional, and so I don't like doing it.
or then on the flip side, if somebody comes up who's like super prepared and doing stuff that you didn't expect, do you change up the way what you were going to do that day to like match what they're bringing differently, or no?
Occasionally.
The way they could do the best is just do it the way everybody prepared it.
It depends on what the thing is,
Right.
And it's, I love it. Like I've had people, especially, I mean, it's the improv thing. It's you get the guy who comes in there and is like, hey, I've got this great idea. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like I'm going to change it up, and you're like, and I am happy to let that happen, and sometimes it works. The problem is when they only see it that way. And it's one thing on a longer form thing. On commercials, it's a fucking nightmare because it like, yeah, I'd love to let you do whatever you do, you know.
We've got 30 seconds.
We've got
sometimes
30
15.
seconds,
Right.
and I've got, you know,
not
this
gonna be in the
insurance
edit
company
anyway.
up here who's
Yeah.
like, we need to hit these specific words
Yeah.
legally, and, you know, and in this order.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, it's not blah, 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 blah. You know, like, no, you gotta
Right.
just read once, motherfucker. Read the words, how you know, and then I'll pretend like the camera's rolling while we wrap up. No, but like so that it's commercials is where it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But again, but I've also had times where people bring wonderful things to sets. It's not that I don't like that. It's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just, again, like it's tunnel vision. Tunnel vision on anybody's part can just grind a production to a halt.
So
Like,
how do you handle that guy that with the water? Like, what do you do?
I yelled at him. Yeah.
So there was multiple yelling.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
no,
allergic.
that-
Maybe he's allergic.
To water. He was one of those aliens from Signs. No, it was. I lost my cool, but again, I don't. It was literally
It was
the last
time,
shot
yeah.
of the day,
Way to end the day, guys.
and it was. I just needed him to go like that, you know. And
He
so
could spit it out after.
he could spit it out. It was, and we brought him multiple options for lightly colored water, some with a little bit of coffee in it, some with a little bit of tea in it, some with a little food, and it was.
Whoa, even with coffee or tea in it?
It was.
Man.
I don't know. So I mean, that I was just like, please just drink the goddamn water.
He's like,
and-
look, man,
and
I'm
so we can
hydrated
all-
enough.
yeah.
All right, I'm done.
And it was still a weird thing to. It's just that I've had actors who so often will just do whatever, like just go for it, you know, and sometimes I'm like, good Lord, they really fucking went for it, like, you know, like I had extras one time. I was like, I need you guys to. I know you just met each other. Like, I need you guys. This was not Playboy. I just need you to make out, you know? And like, they were extras. And like, I was filming the scene and we had to pan, and I looked over, I go, holy shit. And I mean, they were just really like
Guys,
going
we
to
cut,
town,
like,
you know?
10
and like,
minutes ago.
Yeah. And I'm like, so whenever I see an actor, like,
They're married now.
just go that extra mile, I'm just like, that's awesome. Like that. I
Yeah.
mean, and that is the craft. And I know that there's varying levels of that. So it's like when you have somebody who refuses to do like one weird thing, like
Yeah.
you're like, what? How are you going to be when the real tough thing comes up, you know? And so I felt bad. I apologized, but it was like I was so tired and
Right.
Were
you
they
know,
apologetic or not? Kind of just like,
yeah, they
You have
were-
nothing to apologize for. That was
you
him.
know, but again, I don't like doing that. I
Yeah.
really don't. I don't, because I've worked with producers and I've worked with directors who do that, and that's like and it's like, again, you go to that Christian Bale thing. Like, I've never worked with him. Like, maybe 99% of the time, he's a swell guy on set, but all people know is that one thing. So it's like you don't want to be that one guy that like exactly. And so it's sort of, you always have to be on and get stuff done. But then again, I know other directors who like are nightmares. And like I hear story and people are like, he fired me, and then like I show, and but then they're directing multi-billion-dollar movies, and you're like, well, maybe that's the way to be. Like maybe I should.
Maybe that's what it takes.
There's something to be said about that, and I don't like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a sort of intractability, and
one day we'll get there.
Yeah, but yeah.
So before we get to plugs. Paul, is there any, looking back to your younger self, is there any advice you would give to a young Paul who's going into LA to direct that you know now?
For that kid in American University.
I think I wished I would have made a few more things, like just on my own, and I would always make weird little
like
things, shorts and things like that. I think just being present, I think moving out of the town helped me. I don't know if I would have, but I think if I would have, as soon as I hit the ground running here, really like dove in, in some other ways outside. I was very focused on rent, making money, that I was doing programs and shows that I knew I could get the work, but I don't think it was advancing my sort of creative career as much. So I think I would have found better avenues for that. I think just always be making stuff, and I still do it as much as I can, but it's tough when you're working and have family and all that, but
do you think the festival route is a viable way to go?
Like film festival? I don't know. I mean, I know so many, I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything that, if it makes you make something, yes. But like, I'm trying to think of the number of films or shorts that I've seen.
Thunder Road. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that.
It was a South by Southwest.
Jim Cummings.
Yeah, that's the only one I know.
Okay.
He got a feature out of it.
I mean, but I know more stories of somebody who did a weird Vimeo video, who got like
that went viral,
a horror movie, that now they're doing, like the next like X-Men movie, and so it's like, I think those things that the festival route may be a little bit of a leftover from a previous generation where that was the only way people could see this stuff. And now
it's online.
It's online. I mean, like I did some of those trailers, like I did one for 2012, like the stupid Roland Emmerich movie. And like, this was in 2010 or whatever, like, or 11, whenever that came out. They got like 1 million views back then. Like, I'm sorry, like you can't, even like Vimeo videos that I see that are shorts that get like 100,000, 200,000 views, that's probably 90,000 more than we'll see it at a festival. I mean, yes, there's Sundance, there's South by and all that stuff, which are the bigger ones that can get the thing. But I also think at festivals, I think it's like, I think for features, anybody's putting it in already. They're stacking the studios, and the indie studios are stacking their deck. Like they always talk about like, it's an independent film. I'm like, yeah, but you have like 4 Academy Award winners. Like, how is this an independent film?
Yeah,
like,
Brad
I
Pitt's
think
the lead.
I think like the last true. Like I think about. Do you ever see Primer? It's this guy, and he Shane Carruth. He's out of Texas. He did Upstream Color. He's done like, but his movie, he like won the lottery. He won like 10,000 or something on the lottery. Made this movie about time travel, and it was like, there's nobody's in it. The sound's terrible, but it's a fantastic movie, and that's the last thing I really remember seeing that like made it somewhere that wasn't a sort of side project for like Matt Damon, or and I've seen other things that are like it's an independent movie. I'm like, it's the Duplass brothers. It's like they stop like just because they're not like in a studio doesn't mean that they're not like. So I think what that means, but I think for festivals, if that's the goal for you to make something, you still put it online. I mean, and so there's no bad route. I I wish some things, but again, you ask my wife, she's like, you're always doing stuff. So I don't know.
So you've worked on a ton of things, like a good variety of stuff.
Yeah.
You even worked with Kylie Jenner.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I let my good friend who works at the ad agency, he shot that actual thing. I shot the rest
Okay.
of it and like came up with a concept and edited it and all that. Like,
But you weren't there.
I did not
shooting
actually
Kylie.
meet her.
Oh, okay. So
Because he was
I
with the
gotcha.
agency and he was like, you can go, but like, they're letting 2 people go and we need like 1, I was like, go. And I
Yeah.
knew he would appreciate it more than I would,
Right.
and I knew he knew what he wanted. So, but the rest of that stupid little thing I shot and wrote, and it was longer. It was really like an infomercial for like how to use a television.
Yeah, I was like,
it got.
I was like, you're teaching us how to use a TV.
Well, the whole thing is
but
like
I know.
they live their life online,
Sure.
and I think the
Yeah.
longer form made a little bit more sense. But then E was like,
It's too long.
"Make it short, like just snap." It still is pretty funny watching her.
Make it like Snapchat.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to at least have said I met the. Is she now the richest
Self-made.
right?
I mean, self-made.
How much
Come
does
on.
that piss her sister off?
Yeah.
She's like, I did the sex tape, and now
Yeah, exactly.
you're lapping me. I did the heavy lifting up front, guys. Like I hung out with Paris Hilton, and
She's got
Yeah.
Kanye.
I know.
Right.
Which
If it wasn't for that sex tape, though, would we even know who they are? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Did you
None of
guys
them.
see Kanye on Carpool Karaoke?
I did not.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I saw
on the
that
plane.
I
On the
saw
plane, he did.
airplane or
Yeah,
airplane
airplane,
karaoke.
yeah.
when was this?
This last
was
week,
with Corden,
4
right?
days ago.
They
Oh,
did
I
it on an
did.
airplane though with Kanye's whole like choir he travels with.
But did
Really?
it? Wasn't it like he said something really offensive or something?
The only thing that I cringed, but it's classic Kanye, so I loved it. It was like,
Something about money, right?
I forget that, but he was like, God is showing off with me. God is using me to show off. This is what God can do.
Yeah, it's like, but he does it, and people are like, he's crazy. And then there's like a million like televangelists who are saying that, and not that they're right, but like, yeah,
Exactly.
I like the new album. I know that people really fucking hate it. Though.
I haven't
Like,
listened to
it's-
all of
I
it.
haven't
People like the
listened.
lyrics are ridiculous. I'm like, well, I stopped listening to what was coming out of his mouth, 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, but man,
He's a character.
He's the man.
And he'll tell you
oh yeah,
that he's
Yeah.
the man.
he's God
Hell yeah.
according to him. I
Exactly.
used to run into him all the time, like
Really?
Really?
yeah, like
Where at?
Amoeba and the
Oh, yeah.
the little the
was he
newsstand
doing?
down there at Melrose and Fairfax.
Just
I-
walking.
you know,
He's just walking around.
At
Or
which,
buying- he was
at which
buying
point in
magazines.
his career, like after he was already
like right after Through the Wire. So like right there.
so
like
he's
right,
like kind of in that cusp of like
Yeah.
hitting stardom.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so and
You give him the nod when you saw
yeah,
him?
yeah, and he was like, like the couple of times, and like when I was in the newsstand, I was like, hey, he's like, hey, how's it going? And he had like an armful of like Architectural Digest and like
Wow.
Dwell and all. I was like, that's cool, because I love design and and like
Yeah.
But now
Interesting.
I think
Talented
he would,
guy.
He wouldn't, he'd just
Yeah.
run me over.
Should we do plugs, gentlemen?
Well, I was going to ask one last
Do
quick
it.
question.
Yeah.
I was kind of going off the last question I asked you, but you've done all these different things. What do you feel like is the end game for you? Like, what do you really want to do?
Features.
Okay.
It's features and television, but I grew up loving movies.
Favorite movie?
A favorite.
A favorite.
The movie that brought you here to LA?
A movie.
A movie.
Doesn't have to be the movie.
The movie. I always think in terms of directors. I go John Carpenter,
Cool.
Michael Mann, Kubrick,
Nice.
and so it's like those. It's going to be somewhere in there. If I'm having to say,
Yeah.
like as a kid, you can't beat the Star Wars movies. Like I can't. Like that was as a kid. That was
Well, they did
That's what
with the
launched you.
prequels.
they did beat them. You're right. They topped them, and it's never going to
that's
get any
it.
better. And but so it's like I just that was growing up was I was the indoor kid. I just
Yeah.
I'd watch movies,
Star Wars and
whatever
yeah.
I could,
Yeah.
anything I could. And I was very fortunate to like sort of get the 80s movies in the 80s. And then like, I remember seeing Pulp Fiction in the theater and I was like, okay, that settles it. That's exactly what I want to do, and like that. Now that I know I can make space movies and also do this crazy shit, like,
Yeah.
everything seemed open, and so that really just solidified it. So I love movies. I love big dumb movies, you know. So it's like I would love
like what?
oh shit, like Michael Bay movies. You know, I mean,
Okay,
like you know,
yeah.
like I
love
I,
that spinning around.
I
love Armageddon.
Pain and Gain.
Pain and Gain was
That
great.
was
You
a good
know,
movie.
like
I like that one.
I mean,
That
the
was a good one.
Transformer movies are dumb as rocks, but they look great. You know,
Yeah,
but
they
like,
look really good.
but they're so I love that stuff. I also love, you know, like very simple things. So I think there's something to be said about turning around a story in 2 hours. That's
yeah.
very cool. But I also know that people are like, you know, they're dying, right? I'm like, well, maybe, but you know, and it's so TV's also.
I don't know. I mean, I think that the movie theater thing is going to stick around for a while because there's something about that experience.
I prefer
though.
going to see it in the movies.
Yeah, I love going.
I do.
I love going to the movies.
They just lower the ticket prices.
Yeah.
A-list, man. AMC A-list.
Tuesdays on AMC, $6.
It's, once you have kids,
It's expensive.
it's impossible.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen Joker.
It's a
Yeah, I
great
know.
one.
I like
Dude,
it.
it's gonna
Yeah.
ask
Got
you,
to.
man.
No,
I think
I
you'd
gotta,
love it.
I gotta see that between work and kids. It's just like,
Yeah.
whatever.
What's the last movie they saw with you?
In the theater?
Yeah.
I took my son to see. No, we went and saw Dora the Explorer. That
Was
one.
it good?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
I'm not gonna lie. I
It-
saw the trailer and I was like, oh,
Live
God.
action.
It
Oh,
was.
God.
It was one of those movies that I was kind of cracking up, and sometimes like they do with kids stuff, they do shit that's like trying too hard to be like, you get what we're really doing here,
Right.
But this was like some like really subtle, and I who directed it? I'm trying to remember who did it. But
Was that Tarantino or?
Okay.
No, it was. I think it was. I'm trying to remember if that was one of the ones that the guy did, like the Mighty Boosh or something like that. But like there's like these like weird little smart. No, that was the guy who did Paddington, who did the Mighty Boosh. But like, these weird like things where like the girl. Like it's like, oh, you know, she talks to it's like she's like, can you say, you know, peligro, you know, and like everybody else at the table just looks at her and is like, what is she?
Oh yeah.
You know, they do stuff like
Yeah.
that, like not
Michael Pena.
he's in it.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in
he's
it.
in
Yeah,
it.
he's
Yeah.
and so it was fun, and it was like you realize like some of these big action movies with the billions of dollars where they're running through the jungle are just like really trying too hard because like there's something really fun about just watching a couple kids like turn stone knobs in a thing, you know, like it's fun, but but then they want to see it and Joker,
yeah.
and I'm like, you're not. But I'm also the bad dad with that stuff.
Joker might
I
not be for the
I think
kids.
you would be the fun dad.
I am the fun dad. I am the dad that people are like,
Yeah.
don't, when they send their kid, don't show them stuff. You
Right.
know, my son is 6, but like we're watching, he's like, it's all Stranger Things. Like he loves scary stuff, and I just
Yeah.
can't wait. And I have these like prints, this one artist, and it's like all these different horror movie characters like in this thing, and like he just stares at it, and like he's like, who's that? I'm like, it's Jason. He's like, who's that? I'm like, it's, you know, he's like,
Jigsaw.
can I see that? I'm like, no, and I'm like, but I really wish you could, and I can't wait until we can sit
Till
down
you
and watch
watch
the
it.
thing, you know. Like,
Yeah.
so it's fun, like kind of cracking their brain open, and
Yeah, that's cool.
and if you have kids, show them old movies from the get go.
All the
Because if you don't, their attention span gets rewired to modern
Yeah.
time. So I have a lot of friends who their kids can't watch older stuff.
A lot of them
Our
have
Older
parents did
stuff
that.
are the best stuff. It's
It
the
is.
best stuff.
a lot of them have adult themes, don't they?
Yeah.
No,
What?
Sunset Boulevard. They're having.
they don't have to watch that.
Oh, okay.
They could.
Shirley
Good.
Temple.
I guess
The black and white, that's a no for them.
That's
though.
maybe
That's
that's maybe too far back.
That's
Oh.
they see black and white and they're just like, whoa. Like although I did show them
lame.
Have they seen Star Wars, the original?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. My daughter's
Gotcha.
not. Kids today aren't into Star Wars though. Like that's
Really?
Because they're watered
No.
down now.
they're just not. They're not. They don't.
It's not as cool.
It's not as like for them. It's all Marvel, and I can't
Yeah.
blame them. I'm like that's like you can't.
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, but
Yeah.
also like the Marvel movies are operating with that same sense of like, let's just fucking do it, you know, like
Yeah.
that Star Wars did it first, you know, where it's like, you know, and so even though the money is heavy into it, but like Star Wars is too aware of what it was, you know. I still like them. I love the
Still
Last
Disney.
Jedi, like I know, you know,
Yeah,
but like
I love that.
I loved it, and people hated it, but like I loved it, and but like for the kids, it's not the same.
I liked Solo.
Did you?
I liked it too.
It was
Solo-
okay. It was fun.
For me,
kinda
Solo
fun.
was a really solid movie that didn't need to exist. You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, I
like,
agree.
Like, yeah, like I
Probably
didn't,
why they're not making
I
anymore.
didn't like Rogue One. Solo, I enjoyed it, but I'm like,
I went in expecting not to like it because I
Yeah.
didn't want them to ruin Harrison Ford, but or Han Solo. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I mean, it's Ron Howard. He's like a Gene Hackman
knows what
kind of like. He's always at least pretty good. You know? Yeah.
Also, Paul Bettany, I think that's his name, as the bad guy in Solo. I thought he killed it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good in a lot of
Yeah.
everything he does. But
Knight's Tale.
Guys, we're
Yeah,
not
dude.
going to keep Paul too long.
anyway,
Let's get to some plugs.
I got nothing to do.
You got to dig through that candy.
It's for, oh yeah.
Plug. Where can people find you?
Go to Paul GD Hogan. It's my site. It's got stuff. I just did new reels and everything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a sleek site. A lot
like-
of good
yeah,
material.
we check it out.
Thank you.
Love the reel, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody
yeah.
go and check out his reel.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have two. I have a comedy reel, which I finally felt I should do. People always
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of comedy, and then I had enough people telling me, you know, you're good with comedy. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah.
I would have thought comedy was your thing.
Yeah, I
me
thought
too.
I thought it was too.
I never like.
But you work with a lot of comedians.
I do.
Comedy Central.
I-
you started off there,
And he hated it.
yeah.
I like comedians. I like working with comedians. Apparently, I'm good with creating comedy. But like
Yeah.
on a Friday night, I'm like, what is the most violent movie I can watch?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's just yeah. But I do like comedies. But so yeah, check it out. Hopefully, I will. If you'll have me, I'll come back if I sell one of these.
Hey,
we would love
That'd be
friggin'
great.
shows.
Yeah,
Love
we'd
to
love
have
that.
you.
That's a real success story.
We'd love to have you pitch us.
There you go.
There it is.
Pass. That's a pass from me.
Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, I have nothing else to pitch at the time.
Can we settle it right now? You're getting Garrison Dean.
So okay,
right,
so
that's
long
right.
and short of it is when I was working for doing content for a site called IO9, which is like a sci-fi blog that used to be the whole Gawker before that whole mess, and I was doing stuff. It was like my commenter name, and Garrison is my middle name. Dean.
Your username. When you say
It was-
comment.
yeah, like I would comment on the site like
You're
an asshole.
You're
like,
fake name.
like you know, like because I'm like I don't want them to know who I really am. They'll never figure this out, you know. And
Troll.
so exactly, I can say whatever I want, and it'll never come back to bite me in the ass.
But you got your picture on the profile,
was
whatever
an egg.
avatar.
It was
Oh,
an
was
egg.
it?
So
I
like,
don't know.
so that was my name. I just picked it at random because it was Garrison, and then I really like MacGyver, so my friends would call me Paul Dean Hogan because of Richard Dean. This is really deep stuff. But so I just combined the two. Fast forward to the site ended up having me create content for them, and then once I started doing these trailers and they would go viral, it was like then people were coming to Garrison Dean for stuff, and I'm like, fuck, now I'm that guy. But I did it. I kept it for long enough just because Paul Hogan is Crocodile Dundee. It's what you get when you search that. So although now I've discovered if you search Paul Hogan director, I actually do come up a
Nice.
couple of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, one day, fuck that Austrian.
Yeah. What's he doing now?
I really want to meet him.
That'd be dope. He
I
seems
have-
super chill.
All right, I have one final story. But I was going to Jamaica with my family, and we flew there. My wife and I flew there to meet my parents, and we got to the airport, and we were at the back of the plane. And at the airport, they took all your luggage and put it in this like waiting area, you know. And so we're at the back of the plane, all the way at the back. Get off, and I see my luggage and like one guy who works there just standing next to my luggage. And I walk up to it. He goes, Paul Hogan? And I go, yeah. He goes, oh. And he walked away. And I went, oh, man. Because it's like, well, shit. Like, maybe he thought, you know. And I felt really bad, you know. Like, I should do, good eye, mate. You know.
That's not a knife.
Yeah. So that's why I try to differentiate myself enough. But yeah.
Almost there, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
Pretty soon it'll be Paul Hogan, the director, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I believe in myself.
I like it.
Yeah.
Guys, great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for coming
Great
by.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
We'd love to have you back next time when
Definitely.
you got the show going. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, for sure.
How do we end this?
Just like that.
All right.
Thank you, guys.